Hi, Marcia. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. How about you? Good to
Um,
see you.
Thank you. I'm great. So, I want to take a moment to thank you for jumping on board with this project. I think it's beautiful how we all come together and especially how we get to do it through this platform. I mean, you're on the East Coast, I'm in Texas, and yet being together through this, coming together to talk about the Holy Spirit, to talk about the Course in Miracles, I just find it so fascinating. So, thank you once again.
Thank you. Yeah, I love this platform. It's because you could be in the next room. That's how it feels to me. Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Um, so for the people who don't know Miss Marcia Grace, tell us a little bit more into how you came into A Course in Miracles. When did that happen, and what was the first experience for you?
Well, it started many moons ago. When I had my daughter was born in 1976, and about a year later, um, she was around that. I was itching to get out of the house actually because um, it was, I just wanted to do something for myself. And I decided to take a yoga class at this little spiritual center that was not far away from me. And I went there and took this yoga class. And the yoga teacher was this lovely, laid back guy. His name was John. He later became a chiropractor, but at the time he was just a young guy doing yoga classes. And so after I was in no rush to go home because, it was my night out for me. And so I would talk to him afterwards. And I said to him one day, John, you're so calm and you're so peaceful. And I was this like hyped up, crazy person. Um, and I said, have you always been that way? And he said to me, oh, no. He said, I started doing something called A Course in Miracles, and it's changed my life. So as soon as he said that, it was like a bell rang, something went boom. And I said, oh, I have to hear more. And so I said, what? And he said, well, you have to, if you're really interested, it's a book that you read. And actually, they're doing a seminar right here at this center on Thursday. So if you're interested, come on back and see about it, which I did. And that 2 days, from Tuesday to Thursday, felt like a lifetime. I just couldn't wait to get there. So on Thursday, I walk into the room, didn't even talk to anyone, but something inside of me I just felt like I'm home. This is home. I hadn't even spoken to a single person yet. And it's been like that ever since. So I met my first teacher there. His name was Paul Steinberg, a very funny guy. He was just an amazing person in many ways. And so he gave a talk, and I ran up to him afterwards and I said, I want the books. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. He says, I just sold my last set. We had sets that day in those days. It were 3 books to a set. And he says, but I just sold the last one yesterday. So I had to wait until next week till they came back again to get it. And again, it was like, oh, I can't stand this. But anyway, so that's my introduction to the course. And I've always stayed with it. And it's interesting because I'll hear people when I mention it and they'll say, oh yeah, I did that last year or, a few years ago. And I always marvel at that, and then I realize, well, the course is not for everybody as a life path. But for me, it became a life path because I open that book every day. I can open that book and find something new, something that just resonates where exactly I am at that moment, that teaches me, that comforts me, that nurtures my true beingness as a spiritual being, as opposed to all the craziness that goes on in our egos in the world.
Right.
So that's how it began.
You fell in love with it right away. I mean, my story is, and I've said it in a few videos already, I had to go through it because of the program that I was with, complementary and alternative medicine, and it was one of the required reading and one of the required courses.
Mm-hmm.
I procrastinated as much as I could. Like I literally did because I didn't understand it. I didn't get a feel for it. I was like, whatever. And all the other themes and all the other topics were a lot more interesting to me. When I finally came to do it, it's like, oh God, I don't understand this. So I've had a trouble coming into it. And it was through Marianne Williamson's book, Return to Love. that
Mm-hmm.
once I read that, and I probably read it, I don't know, in a few days, then I got this book and it made more sense to me. So
Right.
for me, it was kind of a progression of going into it. But now I'm curious to ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
You just said, okay, so you've been sticking through it ever since, and that sometimes right now you'll just pick up the book and it'll say something. Do you randomly select in any given day? Do you randomly select and just open the book, or are you still following the day by day lessons? How are you doing it now?
Well, I've been through the lessons. I don't even know how many times, because I treasure them. They just are so, oh, to me, there's nothing like it. I think the closest thing that in Western culture would be the Psalms in the Bible. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they just sing, and they just, um, they say truth. They say things that resonate with me on such a deep level that it just shifts my consciousness as soon as I open it and read a line. You know, that's all. It's all, or even just the title of the lesson. You know, it just shifts me right away. But I'm not reading them in succession at this point. And the text I do classes, so I'm always reading the text with my students. So I'm getting that constant um, repetition of the concepts and the ideas, and again, that nurturing. You know, that's what the course does. And to me, it's my mother. It's my other mother. The course is my other mother. I swear, because my mother passed many years ago, and it really is. It's my go-to. It's where I go um, for, just for peace, and for a sense of uh, rightness. You know, what's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I have a burning question.
Oh, okay.
So everybody has their own experience, although generally speaking, once you've really allowed yourself to be immersed in the Course in Miracles, you do get the shift of perspective and you do get that sense of nurturing, which is what you were talking about.
Mm,
And we can all express it in a different way, but it does come down to kind of reclaiming that sense of spirituality, of inner peace, of inner guidance. But when you're out of that class, for example, your students, we can teach them the text, go through the exercise, blah, blah, blah. But what happens in real life? And the reason
mhm,
I'm asking this is
mhm,
because personally, just like everybody else, I go through things. Currently,
mhm.
as
Don't
of
we
a
all?
week ago, I'm not going to get into full details. I'm not going to throw
Okay.
anyone under the bus. I really, really want to. But I want to use this as an example that
Mhm,
the way we can apply A Course in Miracles to our everyday life. So it's not just about, for example, being a monk in a cave and meditating and reading and, ignoring the world. The world happens, life
right.
is happening,
That's right.
and crap is coming to us, and it's the way we deal with it. So I'm going to give you a little story without mentioning any names. Um,
Okay.
so let's say I have two sets of people who are currently in my life, who are currently talking about me
Mhm,
in terms that are not true. So, example, this event happened. Um, well, literally, there was an event that happened. And then these two other people are talking about items of this event and criticizing me on things that are not even true.
mhm,
So, although I know it's not true, and I've been dealing with this for about a week, there are times that I'm like, it's not my truth, it's not the truth, it's not my truth, and it won't upset me. But then
mhm.
there's still days like this morning, actually, that I woke up and I'm like, God, I just want to tell them off. Like, I want to clear
Right.
I want to clear my name and say, you're wrong. You're wrong. This is not what happened. And don't gossip about me. If you need to know something about me or you want to say something to me,
Mhm,
I've never been the type to, you can't come to me. I mean, it's about me. Tell me.
mhm,
So the reason I'm bringing this on board is I know the Course talks a lot about forgiveness. And I want to use this as a perfect example of how the Course in Miracles talks about forgiveness in the sense of a person like me going through this now.
Hmm.
How can I apply it? Because theoretically I know, but I'm still in it. Make sense?
Right. Yes, yes. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful example. It's this kind of situation is just so common in our everyday life. And well, let me begin by saying that we tend to be, we get upset, our ego, because right in the Course, it talks about that there are two parts to our mind. There's our right mind, so to speak, which is always connected to the source. And then there's the ego, which is all about this world that we live in. So these are two completely different perceptions that we can switch on and off. But for the most part, we're on what I call ego automatic, which means we're in the world, we're doing our daily stuff, and we're pretty much get outwardly motivated by things. Whatever's going on out there is what I'm busy with.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that scenario of the ego world, the Course talks about something called specialness. Okay. And you tell me specifics, but I'm going to guess that these people, whoever they are special to you because, they're people you either live with or, are very close to or what have you. Those are our special ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so we care about those special ones because we have arrangements, shall I say, with these special ones. We have ideas in our heads about how these special ones should be with us or how we should be with them. We do dances together, right? That's how it is with our special ones. And it's really interesting as we start to notice ourselves and how we react in certain situations, that will be one way with one person and will be some other way with a different person because of the nature of that special relationship. Okay, so that's the framework I'm going to put this in, right? So all of us are dealing with our special relationships continuously. I mean, this is a daily activity. Unless you said like you're a monk in a closet somewhere, you and even then you have to deal with yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're never free of specialness in the world until, and this is the key, until you choose again, as it says in chapter 30 of the text. We have to choose again. We have to make a new choice to say, the way that I'm perceiving whatever it is the situation is painful. It hurts. It's upsetting.
Oh, I'm pissed.
Yeah. So why? So, okay, I'm a victim, right? I mean, if these people wouldn't do this, I could be happy. This is the way the ego thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's a total victim. And that's very normal. I mean, we don't question that. Most people do not even question that. Someone said something bad about me. I have a right to be mad, right? I'm justified in my anger. And the Course says, sorry, no, you're not. I mean, you can be. You're perfectly, you're entitled to do whatever you want. But if you want peace, then you are not justified in your anger. What you are is someone who made a choice for the ego as opposed to your right mind. And that's fixable. That's the good news. The good news is, hey, I'm in control here. I can do something about that. So again, you're bringing up the most perfect topic here, because the number one tool the Course gives us to get that peace is forgiveness. Okay? But forgiveness is not forgiveness like I'm going to pat you on the head and say, oh, you poor thing, too bad. I'll let you go this time, because you probably didn't realize how dumb you are, and so I forgive you. That's the way we tend to think of forgiveness, right? Course says, no. Forgiveness means, and if we went to page 403, I think it is, it's the first thing that comes right after part 2 in the workbook. There's a whole little expose on forgiveness. And it says, you forgive what you think your brother did to you. You forgive what you think they did to you.
I'll write it down.
Because what happened is your perception of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Based on, again, all these special relationships, these prior experiences that we've had with these people that have set up the situation in this fashion. Does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so here we are. We're in the midst of this feeling. You said they're talking behind your back, right? And saying things that aren't true. And they're doing whatever it is they're doing. I mean, in the world, that's true. They are doing whatever it is they are doing. And you have no control over that. Absolutely true. Okay? So let's clear that. Let's make sure that's clear. However, what you do have control over, and this is the gift that the Course gives us, is you have control over how you perceive those activities. That's the big difference, right? So now, if someone's talking about me and I get angry, what happens? Separation. Because now I don't feel close to these people anymore. I'm angry. I want to do something. I'm upset. So that is just what the ego wants. It wants us to stay separate. It wins, right? Anger helps the ego win our attention, so that we stay in its clutches, right? But that's why the Course is there, to help us say, but there's another way to look at the situation. So, and how that happens is grace. That's why grace is I added that onto my name, because I want to remember that grace is something I'm always working toward discovering and in my daily life. And so when we find that grace, when that bell rings or that shift happens, and suddenly we say, wait a minute, this hurts. I don't want to suffer like this. I don't want to be in pain over this. I want an answer. Help. And that's the best 4-letter word I ever heard, was help. And just calling for help from your higher self, from the part of that other part of your mind. Remember I said there's 2 parts to our mind. So that other part of our mind, that's the right mind connected to the source, that is where the Holy Spirit, the way the Course term puts it in, the terminology for that is the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit resides in our right mind, and we can make that shift from the ego to the Holy Spirit simply by making the request. It's all we have to do. We have to just have what the Course says, a little bit of willingness. Just little, not a lot, because you're not here to control the situation. In fact, you want to really release the situation so that you can see beyond the little perspective that you have in your ego. So that's what happens. You yell help. I mean, I've stood in my kitchen and yelled help. I can remember how many times I've done that, in the middle of, some crisis in my perception. And then there's a release that comes. Hopefully this is learning how to ride a bicycle or drive a car or anything. It takes practice. It doesn't necessarily happen instantaneously, because we have a lot of resistance for reasons I can't possibly go into at this point. But there's a lot of resistance to allowing the answer for peace to come through. However, with practice and desire and willingness, those things are all necessary. And the willingness to just sit and be open to a new answer, because your old ego wants to say, oh, but I have to do this and I have to do this, and if I say, and that's not what you want. You want to be open to a new answer. Something it has to be different, because that's where peace is. You're obviously not peaceful now, right? So there has to be a new answer that'll shift you into peace, and that's what comes as a product of asking for help and then releasing your need to figure it out, to understand how to do it.
I think that's where I'm at. I think I'm at
Yeah.
I haven't allowed to release it. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
to kind of rephrase, I have asked, not directly for the 4-letter word help, but I did the other night say to the Holy Spirit, help me see this. Well, I guess I did. Help me see this differently because I can't get my head around it.
Right.
But
Right.
I think it's what you just said. I'm still trying to get my head around it when I should actually release it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
as you were speaking, I think one of the things I thought of this week, like I mentioned, I heard about it last week. What I think I heard this week was, this is the reason why it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So because of all the other belief systems and because of the coaching and because of everything else, I always look at it in very different ways. And I think the Holy Spirit was trying, and I didn't allow it, or I didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
My ego was like, no, I want to be pissed and I have the right to be pissed.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it was trying to tell me, well, yeah, that happened. And yeah, they said that. And yeah, it's new, true.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it reflecting in you? What is it that it's teaching you? And I
Right.
actually, for like half a second,
Mm-hmm.
for half a second, I probably realized what the lesson is.
Mm-hmm.
They are showing me through this without them
Mm-hmm.
even knowing. And then I jump back into my ego.
Yep.
I
Yep.
jumped back into my ego and I was like,
Yep.
well, I still know I have to work on that and I don't care, but they shouldn't be doing that. But I think it's that. I think it's what you just said. It's allowing the release that I don't need to figure it out and literally just let the Holy Spirit calmly and with grace show me, and I get it and I move on.
Yes. And the way, so it seems like an impossible thing to do, right? I mean, it really, I know on a surface level, saying this to someone, oh, just turn it over, just let it go, easy to say, right? But how in the world are you supposed to do that? I mean, how can I in the face of this ridiculous, horrible situation? And, and so it seems like an impossible thing. So here's where the Course says something that is really quite radical, very radical, but I'll mention it. And because for me, I didn't understand it. How do you let go of your anger? How? I mean, when here's the situation, I mean, it's right here in front of me. People are killing people. They're in horrible catastrophes. Cathedrals are burning down. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff is going on, right? And it's how can I turn my back, so to speak, right? That's the ego's question. In fact, the ego is really quite what's the word? Like, how dare you, even suggest such a thing? I mean, this is important, So so this is where the Course says this radical thing. And what it says is that if you know that you are a spiritual being, if you really knew that, if I knew that, you knew that, if we all knew that, it doesn't matter about anybody else really, but if I know I'm a spiritual being and I am eternal, okay, so spiritual beings are eternal, right? No past, no future, no death, no nothing, total joy and peace always in eternity. If I knew that, how would I react in that same situation?
Okay.
In other words, if you're coming from the Holy Spirit in your mind rather than your ego, I have the cutest little thing, and I don't know where it is, but it's a little thing and you squeeze it and it says, what would Jesus do? But it's a little bear or a bunny or something, I don't know. But anyway, but the point is, yeah, you'd have a different perception. And I don't know where the line is in the book, but it does, he talks about there are two ways that the Holy Spirit sees any situation. Now, that's your right mind, right? So there's two ways the Holy Spirit sees any situation. One is as a experience of love, an extension, of love. So you look at someone, you like them, they like you, whoopee, everything's happy, right? Then there's the other way, which is a call for love. Now, in the call for love, The other person is maybe doing some incredibly horrible, dangerous, stupid thing. But you, coming from your right mind, are able to see that that is harmful to them. Not to you, because you know who you are, you're spirit, you're eternal. It's harmful to them because they don't know who they are. They don't. So you have incredible compassion for them. And in that compassion, you receive guidance that rectifies the situation. In your own mind, if nowhere else. Not even necessarily in the world. Because again, we're not looking to heal the world, so to speak. That's really not the purpose of the Course. The purpose of the Course is to have inner peace. Everywhere, 24/7, wherever you go, whoever you with. That's its goal. Not to get to heaven. That's not the Course's goal. It's peace 24/7. Everywhere. Okay. So how is that accomplished? By seeking the guidance in my right mind, which will, again, I can't tell you what you would be told, but it will tell you perhaps it'll tell you what to do to rectify the situation. It may say, oh, go speak to so-and-so, or go say that, or whatever. Or it might just say, just have compassion. They know not what they do. Right? Didn't Jesus say that? They know not what they do.
Yeah, and I thought.
So does that help? Is that helpful in this little process?
It is. Thank you. And I brought it up because I want other people to know the way that we can use the Course of Miracles today.
Well, the Course is totally practical. That's the whole point. It's meant to be put into everyday use. It's not some, metaphysical woo-woo, you just kind of go off somewhere and do that, read it, and then you go back to your life.
Right.
No, you're supposed to bring this into your life. And if you've ever read my teacher, Dr. Ken Wapnick's book on the story of how the Course came through with the scribes, Helen and Bill, and their relationship with one another, which is fascinating. They really gave each other the opportunity, but Bill turned to Helen one day and he said, there must be a better way to live in the world. And then they proceeded to bring the Course forth. So there is a better way. It's not an easy path. I will never, ever say it's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to give up your ego. It's not easy to turn the other cheek, so to speak. It's not easy to honor ourselves. This is the hardest part, to honor ourselves as spiritual holy beings.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So before we run out of time, I want to mention if people want to learn more, because I know you do classes, I know you teach, and I believe you have something online, or you'll be working on having something online. How can people reach out to you?
I'm on Facebook at Marcia Grace. I'm on Twitter, I guess, whatever. I'm on Instagram. I'm in a bunch of different places. But if you want to, I guess the easiest, if you have a question, I'm more than willing to answer anybody's question. Best way to get me is email, which would be mg@marciagrace.com, and that's MarciaGrace.com. And I do a newsletter, so people can receive my blog or from my newsletter or whatever if they wish to sign up.
Okay, awesome. And I'll be sure to put the information down below also on the video. So
okay, great.
Thank you so much. Selfishly, it helped me, but the point is, I want people to see how practical this course is. And it's not just what you said, a metaphysical woo-woo book. It's something that when life happens, and it does. I mean, I'm not heartbroken, and people talk about me all the time, and that's fine. And I usually joke about it. But it's that reminder of, you're right, I'm in the ego mind and not the Holy Spirit. Okay, let me get back to the Holy Spirit, and this is a perfect way to do that. So thank you. It was a perfect example of how we could use A Course in Miracles literally for our day-to-day life.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. Really, to me, that's the gift that it's given me in my special relationships, and Lord knows I sure have them too. Um, but it's made it so much easier on me, and that's, as I said, that's we need to spend more time honoring ourselves, don't you think? Right? I mean, it's too easy, especially as women and mothers, and we're always taking care of other people. I'm not, men don't do that too, and but I'm just as an example. We're so busy taking care of other people and trying to do what we believe is right. But without that guidance from our right mind, we're going to make more mistakes than is necessary. That's the way I like to look at it. Why not make your life simple and easier than have to suffer more than necessary, or at all, eventually. So that to me is why it's been with me all this time, and I continue to find such solace and peace from the material.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for
Thank you.
participating. It was beautiful and lovely, and definitely, definitely very rewarding. So I will talk to you soon.
All right. You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.